And gentlemen, we are live again. So I want to welcome everybody back to another fantastic show with my brothers. We got Tavante the Guru, JD the champ of real estate, and I am Marcus the Money Man. And we're here again to talk about a special topic, cash flow. Everybody needs that cash. You gotta have it. You want it. You just can't let it get away. But cash flow, in all seriousness, every business, this is one big thing that happens in everybody's business. You think about all the money you can make, whether you have contracts or you're going direct to consumers or however it works. You may forget about your expenses and the cost it takes to be able to produce that product and service before you get that check, and you can run into cash flow problems. Been there, done it. Sucks. Sucks. Yeah. But I'll kick this one off with the guru right here, man. Tell us a little bit about it, man. Give us some good positive words when it comes to that.
So let's first start with the definition of cash flow, because it's really simple. But at the end of the month, when you look at that month, how much money did you bring in versus how much money you spent, right? There are a lot of ways to look at this. Now, it depends on how often you receive your money. You can receive your money monthly, you can receive your money weekly, or even daily. Now, what I'm finding is, in my experience, is that sometimes you can receive a lot of money, right? But you don't receive it as often as you would like to. And it could be okay if you learn how to really manage your cash flow. Sometimes you can also receive little bits of money, but you receive them really, really often. And it could be on par with a lot of money one time a month, or even better. It's really a numbers game. It's really a numbers game of money in, money out, money in, money out. And when you look at, all the tools you could have, you can have credit cards, you can have business lines of credit, you can have personal lines of credit, you can have all kind of tools, right? The management of those things depends on your cash flow. If you don't have the cash flow to manage that money coming in to, say you got, let's put it like this way, you got fire, you're gonna put out the fire, right? You got fires starting constantly. You gotta have water come in and put these fires out. If not, your fire's gonna take over and burn your business down. That's like a really good illustration.
Right.
Hey, and it's big time too, man. So like I said, I went through it one time back in, it was like in December, right? We brought on a bunch. We had an influx of clients in towards the end, middle of November, end of November, and our expenses like tripled, which was cool because we're getting, we're getting some checks coming in. But yeah, the November checks didn't roll in until January. So if our expenses tripled, but our income didn't exactly flow in, and
Right.
And then plus on top of that, I didn't do the right thing and monitor it well. So I was like, let's go buy another vehicle.
Yep.
Straight cash is there. Let's go buy a vehicle. Then all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a minute. Bought a vehicle, tripled the expenses. The check's not coming to next month. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right. So then I had to dip into the credit card. Right. I had the extra funding to be able to pull out and take care of some of the expenses. But my objective when I started my business was to try to manage it all with cash. But having that foresight to have an extra resource, extra asset to be able to tap into to keep it going, man, it would have been a cash flow problem. That credit line wasn't there.
Yeah, I can see how that could have been a nightmare too, because it sounds like you were on the cusp of things taking off. And if you weren't able to tap into those extra resources all that momentum that you built up could have just poof, been gone.
Man, just like that. Just like that. It's like, hey, I wanted the business, but you know, I was set up to be able to handle the business, but at the same time, I overlooked the cash flow part of the business. And you know, being in, and I know better, being coming from corporate, that's the reason why we budget certain purchases. We budget certain things out. So if you don't have that foresight to plan when you buy things, like right now, I need to go out and buy $4,000 worth of tools. I got it to go buy it, but I'm looking at these expenses that are coming up and how quickly am I going to get the ROI for the purchase of the tools. So I got to time that up to make sure the cash flow stays positive, baby.
Got you. So that is that one of the biggest, you think with you going through that experience, like what was the biggest lesson you learned in that?
Unfortunately, I didn't have like a huge issue, you know, to the point where I was like, hey guys, we're not gonna get paid. But the biggest lesson was, and I think right after that, I was like, hey, I gotta make sure I at least look, I had to fix my QuickBooks. That was the main thing, where I had some things connected, but I didn't have everything connected right, and it wasn't reconciled. So I immediately did a reconciliation, and I was like, man, we did work to make money, but that month we were negative. And I was like, it felt like a good month. We doing calls, we're completing calls, we're buying parts, I'm paying salaries, I'm spending gas, and the checks, they just never showed up. After a minute, it was just kind of like, yo, where's the money at? You know, and ultimately, what are you going to do? You're just going to stop doing business? Because if it reached a point where I didn't have enough in the credit line to continue to do the calls, to buy the parts, to do what needs to be done, then I couldn't have done anything until I received a check.
Got you. Damn, yeah, it could have went left.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's funny because the key thing I heard you say was it felt like a good month.
Yeah. It was a good month. You were celebrating all month.
Yeah. So it was like you were busy, but at the end it was like you were busy, but at the end of the day, all that labor and things you were doing, it still may not have been enough because of things not being proactively set up. Like you said, you weren't proactively checking some of those things.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely lost track, and you know, and that'll happen. Hopefully, you know, people, you're out there fortunate enough where it'll happen for you, where you'll go from X amount of business and exponential growth in a short period of time, where, you know, you have to worry about some of that. So, you know, as you say, those are the good problems to have.
Definitely.
But it could have been tough conversations. It could have set back, you know, getting all the contracts, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, sorry, I can't handle the work.
Right, exactly. Dang. Whole nother. Now you got the opportunities there, but you ain't handled the work because everything messed up. Damn. Domino effect. With your situation, Devontae, same thing. Like, what was your major lesson in?
So I think what Marcus is saying is that sometimes you can get very hesitant to look at the numbers. I'm not sure what it is for Marcus, but sometimes it can be scary to look at the numbers, honestly. It can be scary just to look at it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't really want to know. You know what I'm saying? You feel like, oh, it's okay to work itself out. But then when you look at the numbers, then there's the clarity that comes first. There's a clarity of, like, you start realizing, okay, well, one, for me personally, I look at waste. I look at, okay, where am I wasting money? I don't even spend this money. That's easy. That's a low hanging fruit, right?
Yep.
You can cut that out real quick. Snap. Okay, now it ain't gonna affect this month, but the next month I'm gonna see some relief, right? So now I'm kind of pre-paving my pathway up, because you don't want to have pressure going into business. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that pressure. You want to have a light, airy feeling about doing your business. That's what's going to ensure that you can do the business well. But when you're money hungry and you trying to get customers in the door, they feel the pressure. They don't want to come in the door.
Yep. True. That commission breath. Yeah, that commission breath.
Right. You gotta be calm about it and start looking at what you can do to get that cash flow working again. Getting rid of waste is the first thing that I'm doing right now. I just got done doing it like 15 minutes ago. I'm so fresh in my brain. Get rid of waste. Stuff that you don't need, that ain't bringing value to your business, get rid of it. So what that bill you're paying was to someone that you actually like and you want to have this relationship. If they ain't bringing value to you right now, you don't need it. You can see later on when you got more cash, you can do that service, whatever it is, right? So cut the waste, then look at ways that you can be more efficient, right? Maybe it's leveraging other tools, lines of credit cards, other things you can leverage. And so that you can help to support your cash flow. Because if you got a bill coming in, right, and it could be routed to another pool of resources before it hits this pool of resources, then you are more in a better position to sustain your business. And that's kind of things that I'm doing right now.
Man, right on. I think, man, everybody's gonna go through it. So now you're going through, you're eliminating waste, you're doing some things proactively now to make sure you put yourself in a better situation. But does that ever go away?
Does it ever go away?
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, specify. What do you mean? You mean cash flow issues or? Yeah.
So when you run into a cash flow issue, do you ever just kind of, so far for me, I haven't went away from just thinking about the cash flow issue. And you don't want to go too much the other way, because if you are way too just more conservative, thinking about cash flow when you're growing,
yeah,
then you won't be able to go out and make the moves that you need to make.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is like, okay, like if I'm concerned about cash flow, then I hit the point where cash flow is good. I'm proactively making those steps. But if I'm concerned about cash flow and I'm not willing to make those aggressive, confident steps, right?
Yep.
To grow my business and reinvest, then cash flow could be an issue then too. And a great example I see is in urban areas where there are businesses that, right? They start off and they make good money. But then what happens is they don't reinvest their money into their businesses. So now they're not keeping up with the times, right? They're afraid of debt. They're afraid of utilizing debt. And in the long run, their business is no longer viable because it's not keeping up with the times. They can't do the service and they lose out on cash flow.
Hey, that's a good point. I think it compounds, man. JD, what you gonna say, man?
No, I'll go ahead. You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a compounding effect, man, and people not being able to go and invest in the business. I was watching before we jumped on live here, it's a live stream on the Appliance Bootcamp. I watched them a couple times a week with Mike Sneed, and he was talking about people starting businesses and having this perception of you can start a business with no money. And I want to take that a step further. So it's not only people who think they can start a business with no money, but you think you can run a business without money and without some sort of funding backing. Whether you're funding it yourself, bootstrapping it, or you're doing it with a credit card, or you got a partner, or you got a rich auntie, you got to have some source to be able to get through and build up, to invest into marketing, to invest in the right tools, equipment. And it's going to cost money that you don't necessarily have to spend all the time, but it'll make what you could potentially had projected or budgeted a lot less for that short period of time.
Yeah.
And I guess the goal is not to go negative.
Right. I think for just gathering it for both of y'all, I'm just thinking about myself too. It's like, it's finding that fine line, that balance of, because I think, you know, when you are first starting, it's natural to want money coming in as fast as possible. You want to try to get in the green, or in the black, I should say. You want to get in the black, you want money flowing in. And that's what you focus on, is to try and make sure you're staying in the black. You're not going into the red, and you want to be bringing in more than you're putting out, and finding that balance in that. But then, like, listen, you, Mark, and I know I can have that frugal dad kicks in, and you're like, well, I don't want to spend. You're making a decent amount, and you're keeping the steady money coming in with what the little bit that you're putting out, and you may get too comfortable. But then I think you got to figure out that breaking point to say, all right, forget this. I'm gonna put a little bit more, like you said, whether it be towards marketing, buying tools, buying another car, hiring another employee. Because if you look at it the right way, and if you're doing things the right way, that actually becomes an investment, and it comes back into the business and helps you build more cash flow. But I think, like we said, if you hold on to that original thought and you get too frugal, you end up stifling your own growth. You end up kind of just, you know, putting yourself in with a glass ceiling.
Yeah, totally.
I agree, man. And this even goes back to like even cash flow on a personal level, right? And so it was a period, man, I want to say it was about 10, 11 years ago, when I was moving into like management, and I was like understanding, I was in my master's program, really trying to take a look at my personal balance sheet. One of the exercises that I would use is I made X amount of dollars, and I had expenses, routine expenses of X amount of dollars. And I would always feel like broke, you know, but I would say, I would put it on there, and I finally did a ratio, and it was something like 77% of what I made after taxes was going to be an expense for the month. So you would think that, all right, I still got 23% left over to be able to do what I need to do. But the problem was bills were due at this time, and the checks came in at this time.
Yeah.
So, you know, essentially, I had a cash flow issue.
Yeah, the timing of it is what messed up.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had this little chart where, you know, typically you get paid twice a month. A couple months you get paid 3 times, but I would have 1 month and all the bills due during that check, and then 2 with all the bills during that check. And I would see, okay, during this first part of the month with rent and all the other stuff that came out the beginning, car note, I'm gonna be a little light in the pockets versus the end of the month or the second check, middle of the month, where I got a little bit more. So that helps with planning. When am I gonna do stuff? You know, because the savings at 23%, you know, you go to the movies, that's gone.
It's gone.
So, you know, it determines when we can do stuff, when we can do certain activities. So, and it's the same thing when it comes to your business. You have to be able to understand when the money coming in, when it's going to go out.
And to your point, Marcus, sometimes a simple, easy thing you can do is restructure those bills. Sometimes you can change those due dates around, and it helps.
That's a good point. Damn.
Helps with cash flow issues. You know, you can do that sometimes.
I think a lot of people forget that you can reach out to those companies and have your paydays change.
Yep. Hey, and drop a little gem that's in shameless plug, the minimum score, the small business credit repair playbook. You can shift those dates and hide your utilization. That's a big one, right? So if you got all your credit cards reporting out on, you know, similar days, when you actually do to pay the bill in similar days, if you split it up and you have enough and you're looking to just get funded, you can shift money around and it'll look like at the beginning of the month, this one have a lot on the credit card. And before the report date comes up, you shift it to another card that's not going to report, at the same time. With that 0%, no transfer fee, you can just move it around and it looks like you have no or less utilization on your cards. So that's a tip. Well, that's a gem.
That's a huge gem.
It's a huge gem.
The benefit on that too, just like you guys said, you can split up that cash flow when the bill is due based on when you get your money in. So yeah, good thing, man. Y'all brought that up. I totally forgot to mention that. So, but yeah. So what else, guys, man?
Well, I think it's good to know too, like on the upsides, when you manage cash flow well, the resources and tools, that's what I get excited about. They become more abundant and available. So, using my business line of credit, ensuring that, my line is going down, not going up. It's going to ensure good usage of that tool, which then later on, I can go back and say, I want some more money, And then, looking at tools, like, I'm not sure how you get your money, but I have a couple ways I get money. I get paid once a month on one income, and I'm getting paid weekly on other income. So the combination of having both of those is helping my cash flow too, because I got money coming short term and money coming long term. So in your business, if you're able to pull multiple streams of income that come at different points of times, that will help your cash flow too.
Yeah. And you best believe they see that too. So when you're trying to build up your relationship with the bank, your balances matter. It matters.
I think that's a key one. I think a lot of people forget too. Like they're gonna look at what you're doing. They're gonna look at that balance.
Yeah,
it matters, man. Because you can have, say, you deposit $100,000 in your bank account for the month, but you quickly move out the money, or you put it in another account, or you put it towards some expenses. When they do that 30-day average, that 100,000 that was in there for a day, that average,
right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So don't think that you can just put a bunch in there and they can see a bunch of money was in there at one time and now it's gone. It don't work like that. So, to your point, if you're putting in money every day, they look at that. If you're putting all your expenses on the credit card, and the way I do it is I put all my expenses on the credit card, and then so as the money comes in, and I have some big paydays throughout the month, so I kind of align that. When I get the big paydays, I pay off the credit card, right? So it builds up, and I pay it down. But I got the smaller payments coming in every day. So that baseline slowly builds up and up and up and up, and they see that. They see it.
That's damn. That's good, man. That's a good ass tip right there. Damn.
Yeah. Well, hey guys. So this week, man, I think it was a good topic. Definitely wanted to talk about it a little bit. Like I said before, I got a bookkeeper, so definitely looking to get that straightened out. And she's working some magic. I want to make sure once she gets everything straightened out with me, I want to take her time away from that. But once she's settled, I want to see if she's available to come on and talk, so we can talk about, what's a bookkeeper, what truly does a bookkeeper do, all the services versus a CPA versus, because there's levels, and she schooled me on the different levels of, services that a complete bookkeeper can do versus somebody who just documents transactions. And I think after you hit a certain point, some things are needed, but I want to bring her on, let her discuss that, because I think most people out there, including myself, wasn't quite aware. And she'll be able to explain, roughly based on what you're bringing in or how your business operates as far as dollars in, dollars out, transaction wise, what could be a good fit for you out there. So I'm looking forward to that and collabing with other business owners too. So, this will be the #1 business strategy show on Facebook and YouTube coming soon.
Awesome.
All right. So any closing thoughts, guys?
Closing thoughts is don't be afraid to look at the numbers. Look at those numbers. Start with the low-hanging fruit, get rid of some waste, and then work on your business and ensure your business has that money flowing in to keep it alive, keep it breathing and going.
Solid.
Definitely solid, man. Hey, thank y'all again for your time. See y'all next week. Peace.